Welcome to First Congregational Church in Guilford, Connecticut, via Stony Creek, just down the road from First Church. Judy Wallace and I are here together for this online service for this Sunday because it is Judy Wallace's last day at First Church. If you come to the church and you're in the in-person service on Sunday, we'll have several speakers and different activities. The service is going to focus around Judy's favorite verse. So in a few minutes, I'm going to read that, and Judy's going to offer some reflections about it and talk some about how First Church has brought joy and lifted her life up, and how working with the kids has been a meaningful experience. If you don't know, she has worked with Pilgrim Fellowship for about 10 years. And Pilgrim Fellowship is an eclectic group of kids, those who are from our church and other churches, other faith traditions and no faith traditions, those who are throughout our town. Usually about 110 of them go on service trips. And you've worked really hard to empower these kids who all live in a pretty privileged environment to understand the wider world, and they live with gratitude and live with a heart willing to help others. Judy has also worked with our little kids, our Sunday school kids, and used her faith and her knowledge and her wisdom, also all the classes that she's attended since she's been at First Church, to empower their spiritual lives. So we say this morning, whoever you are and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We invite you to roll your shoulders back, to open hands and hearts, and so take a deep breath in and breathe out. Breathing in the breath of God, breathing out the love of God, and knowing that you are loved. Judy, I'm going to read your favorite now. Philippians 4. Actually, it's one of mine as well. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say it, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all, for God is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation with prayer and petition, let your thanksgiving be present request to God. And the peace of God, which passes all human understanding, will keep your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And then the last part, which is like a commission. Finally, siblings, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if any of these things are praiseworthy, let your mind dwell on these. Now, the thing I love about this text is that it's about relationship. Years ago, when I went to Israel and Palestine, I had a chance to stand in Philippi and think about these amazing words. And the thing that always comes to mind was my very first youth group. There was a lot of struggle going on, and this was the verse we centered on, or the verses, and we named it the funky peace. May you have that funky peace that keeps your hearts and your minds at rest in Christ. So tell us a little bit about what these verses mean to you.
So these verses in Philippians have been in my life since I was a little girl. It was something my grandmother had on her dresser in a frame. It's something that I have kept on my bathroom mirror for many years, particularly when my parents were sick. It became very meaningful. So different parts of my life have this verse has evolved into a different meaning for me. So now, with having been in this position for 10 years, it went back up onto my bathroom mirror because, and the first thing I want to say is that first part of it, rejoice in the Lord. These years and this time has been so life-changing for me. I know I have a lot of people that say, I've changed so many people's lives, but also know that it has changed my life too. So I rejoice in the fact that I was able to do this for so long. And, the rest of the verses, I'm not by nature an anxious person. And a lot of people say to me, how do you do this? You seem so calm all the time. And truly, this is the verse that I always runs through my head, because I certainly have been in very many anxious situations with Pilgrim Fellowship, on the trips, just the life of teenagers. So I I go back to this and just keep saying, God tells me to not be anxious about anything. And so knowing that people see me in that way of a calm spirit, I also hope that I'm having to spread that to the community as well, because that's really important to me. And so this verse really speaks to me. And then, like you said, the last part of this verse is like a commission. It's kind of this positive energy force for me. It's like, do all these things, all the good, all the excellent, all these praiseworthy things that happen in our life. Focus on that. So it's something I really try to talk to with the teenagers as well as the children in the church. And I'm like,
well, two things come to mind when you say that about the not being anxious, allowing these verses to be digested and settled in your spirit so that you can, push that anxiety at bay or walk with it and into it and live through it.
Yeah.
But also the thing I've watched you do is we have quite a few kids who do live with actual clinical anxiety. And I've watched you do a great job of helping them make sure if they have meds and therapists and counselors, your non-anxious presence has been empowering to help them deal with their clinical anxiety. And that is a gift to our church and to our youth at large. So that's a wonderful thing. The other thing you're talking about in that is the idea of holding hope and joy. So when my good friend Eloise died this past year, her niece was one of those people who kept saying, we grieve, but our grief is not without hope. And what she meant by that was because we do have this otherness, this faith, this trust in a God that is beyond where we are, even though we look around and think, oh my gosh, look what God created. That there is something deeper that allows us to grieve and grieve well and hard, but not to hang on to it for so long that we are incapacitated in caring for others. It gives us a space to know that we can grieve together, talk through that, and eventually find hope that keeps us going. Because we also know our loved ones want us to keep going. So I hear that in what you said. Now, when you think about teaching Sunday school and working with the little kids at church, and I think about your prayer box, your prayer walks, and all those things. What are a couple of memorable things that come to mind?
So the Sunday school program and the CE program, I came into months before the pandemic kind of shut everything down. So it became this really great, wonderful, creative outlet for me. It's like, okay, how can we do this so we can involve as many people as possible but be safe? So I think some of my very favorite times, so we started Live with Judy.
Yes.
And then I thought, I don't want to be doing this by myself every week. And I started inviting kids in to do Live with Judy with me. So those were some of my favorite times because you never know what they're going to say. And you never know how excited they'll be about a craft project or a game or how not, and they'll just say it. This is boring. So it was.
We don't want to do that.
That was really fun to do that, and also just the family events and getting to know the parents of the children. Where I think if you have every Sunday they come to Sunday school and you never really have that interaction. Yeah. I think it was really, really neat going ice skating with kids and families, having
on a pond in the middle of a pandemic so we could have space and wear masks.
Right. And it was freezing cold.
Cold. Judy did a graceful fall.
Yes. Yes, like not a skater. and then having like campfires that I did with the young ones and Pilgrim Fellowship, and they became a thing that Pilgrim Fellowship, the leaders that are upcoming this year, they wanted to do campfires. So, those are some of my favorite times, just the casual, not scripted moments of being with people. And then, of course, just being at church with them and hearing children's stories. And again, not knowing what their answers to questions are going to be. It's just fun.
Well, in a world that is so scripted and scheduled and full of all technology, skating on a pond and bonfires
Right.
and kids just having time to play, we often tell our parents, and we'll tell you again, that our kids are pushed way too hard. Every kid thinks they have to go to an Ivy because that's what you do when they really want to go somewhere else. We have this incredible pressure in town, and I think the gift that one of the biggest gifts you've given is to help kids relax. You know, it's meaningful time. They do good in the world. A lot of them go off to be in the Peace Corps and other things, but you have taught them and given them space to be kids and to relax, which a lot of them don't get to do.
Very true.
So tell us about the project you're working on right now. They're building Habitat House in New Haven.
Yes, so there's several high school students. We're staying at Killam's Point here in Brantford, and we're traveling into New Haven each day, working on a Habitat for Humanity house, and it is near completion. So yesterday we spent in the basement putting insulation in, and today, from the sounds of it, we're going to be painting the entire interior because the family, a single mom and her daughter, are moving in this weekend. So it's like we're putting doorknobs on and we're doing all that kind of fun finishing. Let's make it look really nice. Oh, and a brick sidewalk in the front as well.
So it's a big task.
Yeah.
One of the neatest things that has happened with PF, one of our former ministers began this program years ago, and it has evolved into this incredible place. So we have very skilled carpenters and architects who help our kids learn how to use tools. And so you've got kids who use all kind of power tools, and they actually do amazing work.
Yeah.
And so that's been a gift. The other thing that's happened that you've balanced out is the work service trips with interactive service trips, like when we went to New York.
Yeah.
And worked in the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
With food services for people.
Right.
And it's just in Boston as well.
Yep. Yep.
So the local ones have been a offset to the really big working ones.
They're two very different trips. You know, one is ministering directly to people through food and clothing and shelter, and the other is working on houses, so doing homelessness. So they're very different trips, and I think it's really important that the kids are able to see and choose both.
Right. Well, there's much more to the ministry and the life of Judy Wallace at our church, but I hope that you have that funky piece as you go forward. Judy is also a costume designer, and she makes beautiful clothing, and so we'll see what you sew, how you weave together the rest of your life, as it were. But until then, let us say to you and to all of you, finally, dear siblings, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, what is admirable, if there's anything excellent or praiseworthy, let your minds, and I say your hearts, dwell on these things. Amen.